All right. Hello, everyone. It's Tarkan back with another video. I know it's been a while. I took a little break, and actually I'm not taking a break because I'm getting so many coaching requests and I've got so much coaching to do. And I'm getting emails left and right and comments, you guys' comments, which were so amazing. And I wish I had time to get to all of them. And I wish I had time to get all the emails and everything else. But you know, here we are. We're all in lockdown. Everyone's got a lot of time on their hands. So they're going on YouTube. They're finding yours truly. And they're wanting answers to all the great major questions. So I've actually been quite busy during this lockdown period. And you know, sometimes too, I need to kind of collect myself as well. Because, you know, some things and work and everything can be a little overwhelming. And sometimes even Tarkan has to sit in the corner and suck his thumb and rock back and forth until he's calm again. I don't really do that. But now you've got that great visual of me doing that. So anyway, getting back into things here. All right, easing back in. It's a new week. It's a Monday, so I'm doing a video. And I just want to touch on something because I think it's important, because I'm getting a lot of questions. I'm seeing a lot of comments out there too, here and there. Some of them I can't find again. I've looked, but you know, a lot of questions relating to the current planetary malfunction, seeming malfunction, and people wondering, really asking the question, how in the hell did I manifest this? How did I manifest it? How did I switch into this timeline with all this mayhem when I seem to be doing okay? As I think someone even specifically said, hey, I wasn't focusing on any pandemics. I wasn't focusing on any of this stuff or lockdowns or whatever it is. How in the world did I end up here? How did I end up in this reality? And I think that's a good question. And I'm sure that a ton of you out there are wondering the same thing. How did I do this? If manifesting works, if this is what we focus on, I didn't focus on this. How did I end up here? So it's an important question to address. And I want to take a crack at it here. Okay, guys? Because really, I think the answer is a lot simpler than we tend to make it, which it usually is in life anyway, right? Especially when it comes to people learning about this stuff and manifesting, we tend to make it more complicated than it really is in our minds. Our minds tend to make it more complicated than it really is. But if it's true, right? And let's assume it is, and I certainly believe this 100%, that every possible outcome, every possibility is out there. Every situation is out there, right? Including this situation right now, this pandemic, is sort of just there in that infinite field of possibilities, waiting for people to plug into it. Not waiting necessarily, but at some point, somebody or enough people imagined this kind of thing to be a possibility. And remember what I said in that video a few back, I mentioned, you know, that our individual vibrations, our individual focus, our individual energetic output does feed into the larger collective. And that's something I haven't really addressed a lot yet, co-creation, right? Because we do co-create on this planet. So all these outcomes, it's sort of like saying, well, if we can imagine it, if we can imagine it happening, then it becomes a possibility. It's out there in that ether. And whether you're going to experience that as a possibility or not is really up to where your focus is and where your limiting beliefs are and where your fears are in life and where your did I say limiting beliefs already? Where your resistance is most highlighted, you see. So it doesn't really necessarily follow or have to follow that you're going to focus on a global pandemic and boom, you create a global pandemic, or boom, you go into that timeline, you shift into that timeline, and there you are experiencing it. What is likely going on for a lot of you, for all of us right now in this timeline experiencing this, is that there's some aspect of how this thing is playing out on some level that we do have limiting beliefs around, or that we do have resistance around. Because when you think about this in terms of what it really is, it's not just about health. It's not just about a virus or anything like that. It's playing itself out in all these different areas of life. It's playing itself out in financial areas of life. It's playing itself out in family and social areas of life, business, right? So people are being affected by this. Everyone's being affected by this, but really on a different level. Everyone's got something different going on with this, right? So if you did have a lot of resistance around your health, around well-being, or the idea of that, then this thing will highlight that more for you than it might for someone who's not so focused on, say, having resistance around their health, all right, or issues of mortality that they're dealing with, or that they have some fears about, right, some anxiety about that they've practiced for long enough. But for those other people for whom the health issue isn't such a big thing, it might be that the financial issue is a big thing and is really affecting them negatively, because then they probably were practicing a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of limiting thoughts, a lot of limiting focus and resistance around the idea of their finances. For other people, it's their relationships, right? Their marriages, their honeys that they're living with, right? People are kind of being cooped up together, and it's putting a strain on a lot of relationships out there, and it's highlighting good things about those relationships at the same time, you see. For other people, it could be issues, family relationships, right? Or worrying about their family members. I'll tell you, for me, if you want to ask the question, that's the question really. I know, Tarkon, how did you end up in this timeline? Well, you know what? Even as your teacher here and as your coach and this guy doing this YouTube video, I do have resistance still. I'm a human being, and this is not something you're ever going to really get done. There's always going to be something that you have some resistance around, that you work your way through. And I've had a lot of resistance around the idea of my mother aging, right, and living on a faraway continent. The idea of being separated from my family because I live in a whole different country, and like I said, a whole different continent. That's something that's kind of always been stuck for a long time in my vibrational craw, right? That I sometimes worry about and wonder about, right? I worry about her health. I worry about my brother. I worry about those people. I worry about the distance between me and my loved ones. I struggle with these two places that I've lived in for so many years, and I'm associated with Germany on the one hand, Turkey, 3 places, and here in the United States where I've lived most of my life, right? So I have issues regarding my identity. Where do I belong? Can I always travel back and forth between these places? Will that option always be available for me? So I've always had a lot of concerns about that and fears about that, right? And an awareness of also my own mortality and getting older and people around me getting older. So, I observe things too. I live through contrast as well, right? And the thing is that I understand how I ended up in this situation, or how I plugged into this program, you see. Because that's kind of what it is. Because all of us living through this experience right now, all of us running this virus experience right now, this pandemic experience, are running it in respect to some specific point of resistance that we have going on in some specific area of our lives. And for a lot of people, it could be a number of areas. It could be the health issue and the financial issue, or the relationship issue and this issue, right? It could be any number of those things. So when you really think about it, what's really going on is, how did I manifest this? It's not that you were necessarily focusing on a virus and a pandemic and a global shutdown and this chaos, but you had enough resistance going on in some area that this thing can easily play out or reflect back to you. You see what I'm saying? So in other words, and I've said this before too, the universe is always going to look for the path of least resistance. It's always going to match you with the most obvious or the easiest kind of reflection, physical reality reflection to your most practiced focus and vibration and energy, right? So if you tend to focus in a really positive way, let's say, on money, right? You have a really good relationship with money. Money's going to find you through many different avenues, you see. You might imagine, hey, I'd like to win the lottery, but it doesn't have to come through the lottery. The universe knows the easiest way to match you, the easiest path for money to come to you, to match you with, right? So it could be an inheritance. It could be that you find a bag of cash somewhere. It could be any number of possibilities. Now, of course, your mind can only come up with maybe 3 or 4 possibilities, but to universal mind, there's infinite possibilities, infinite paths to get you to where you want to be, or to match you up according to your vibration that you're putting out. It doesn't have to just be a positive manifestation. This also plays out in negative manifestations. It's always going to match you up with the easiest, most available situation or circumstance or person out there, right? So again, if you've been like practicing a lot of worrying about your health, for instance, okay, you're going to plug into an experience that is kind of co-created and put in place and being run by a collective of other people who also have that kind of energy and focus going on regarding their health, right? Regarding worrying about their health, or worrying about their mortality, or worrying about the health of their family members, or the age of their family members, or their partners, or their children, or whatever it is, right? So that this is kind of the perfect program for the universe to run, to reflect that energy back to that group of people collectively, you see. So same with finances, right? We have a lot of negative energy on this planet for running for a very long time around the idea of money. And you know, this is stuff that's like, oh, the rich are terrible and the poor. And, you know, there's so much negativity and so many limiting beliefs around that don't serve any of us any longer, right? But it has to play itself out, because the more we practice that kind of focus, the more the universe has to match us with situations and circumstances that reflect that match that on a vibrational level, you see. So when you ask yourself, how did I end up here? How did I manifest this global pandemic? What you manifested was some aspect of this that is now affecting you the most about this situation. So ask yourself that. Ask yourself the question, hey, how is this affecting me personally? What's the area of my life that this is highlighting the most, this thing? Maybe it isn't my health. Maybe I feel healthy and I don't really get sick very easily, and I'm fit and I'm young and whatever it is, and I'm strong and I have a strong immune system. But there's some other way in which this is playing out. There's some other fear that this is now reflecting back to you, right? Maybe it's a fear of losing your business, and so your business is shut down, all right? Or businesses are shut down, and you're observing other people struggling with money too. Maybe it's the idea, maybe like me, you worry about your aging mother and you're worrying about being far away from your family, and so now there's a situation where I can't easily fly over there. Airports are shut down and borders are closed, you see? So how that plays out is through that, right? So the thing about this is not a punishment situation, right? This isn't like saying you did anything wrong. Because when you become aware of the fact that you are a powerful deliberate creator, well, you're becoming a deliberate creator, but that you're a powerful creator to begin with, that you came into this world as a powerful creator, and you're going to live all of the days and years of your physical existence as one, and you're going to exit as one, and you're going to be one eternally, right? When you understand that and come into that understanding, then you start to ask yourself, well, where's my vibration at? What am I focusing on the most in my life? Am I focusing on things working out? Do I have more of a solution-oriented focus, or do I have more of a problem-oriented focus? Do I focus more on where things aren't working out? Do I highlight those things more in my life? Things where everything goes sideways, things where I failed, or I think I failed, or I've convinced myself I failed, things where I've convinced myself that I struggle, areas of my life. If you wonder that, right, all you have to do is take a look at what is being fed back to you. It's a feedback system. That's all it is. And it's there to serve you, as a matter. Believe it or not, this is here to serve all of us, because it's showing us, not just as individuals, but collectively, where our resistance has been, where we've highlighted our doubts, our fears, our anxieties, what we've been focusing on as individuals and as a collective. It's the perfect program to run right now for the universe. The path of least resistance for everybody, for this collective of people, so everybody on the planet to simultaneously get an immediate feedback as to the vibration and the energy and the focus they've been putting out there, is to run this program of this global pandemic. And everybody gets to have a piece of it, you see. Everybody gets to plug into it and personalize it in that way, and use it as a backdrop, as a way to inform themselves as to what their focus has been in their life. What have they been practicing in terms of their energy? Where have they been putting their attention? So it's an opportunity to look at that, to go, I see why I got here. It doesn't necessarily mean that I was focusing on a pandemic, but I see how I made myself aware of this program that's been running anyway, right? It's always been running. It's always been there. I just plugged myself into it because there was some aspect of it that was there showing me some aspect of my resistance that I had going on in some particular area of my life, or in a number of areas in my life simultaneously, you see. So that is the path of least resistance. The universe is sort of going, well, everyone kind of is putting their focus over here, and all these individuals are putting their focus over here, and in these areas, well, here's the perfect program to run to feed that back to them, to show them what they've been doing with their focus, their energy, their vibration, all that stuff, you see. The fear, right, that arises gets highlighted. The fear around finances gets highlighted through a situation like this. The fear over health and mortality gets highlighted, right? The fear of loneliness and solitude gets highlighted. The fear of not having freedom of movement gets highlighted. I mean, you can think of 1,000 things that we can plug into this program that's running right now, right? So you can apply this to any area of your life and any kind of manifestation that you're observing, any reflection that you're observing coming back to you through your physical reality is there to show you where you're at in relation to where you want to be. You understand? You know, and this is, and again, this is what I've always said, these things are like little compasses, little map points for you to determine where am I in relation to where I want to be. It's not punishment. It's not that you failed. It's not that you're unworthy. It's none of those things. It's not that the universe forgot what you wanted, or you didn't focus on it enough, so now you don't get it anymore, or you have to keep asking and keep asking and keep asking, or any of that kind of stuff. All right? What you want is already there, just like what you don't want is already there. Those two possibilities exist always at the same time simultaneously. The worst possible outcome you can imagine and the best possible outcome you can imagine. What determines whether you plug into either one, whether you experience either one, what determines that is your focus. That's your focus, all right? So when you know, hey, the situation has arisen that is making it very difficult for me to make money, to pay the rent, to get food, then oh, I guess I've been practicing some real negative energy and ideas and limiting beliefs around the idea of money and around my relationship to money and the idea of that. If I'm being affected in a health-wise, or people that I love are being affected in a health capacity, then that's something that I've been practicing a lot of limiting beliefs around. So now that I know that, I can now consciously and deliberately turn that around. Right? Because now I just go, well, okay, if that's what I've been doing, well, what's the opposite of this situation? What do I want instead? What do I prefer instead? Oh, well, I prefer this. I prefer abundance. I prefer good health for myself and for everyone that I love and care about. And for everybody, right? I prefer freedom of movement. I prefer liberty and democracy. I prefer when the stores are full of things rather than lack, right? I want to focus on abundance. I live in an abundant universe, and I want to plug into that abundance. But if all I'm focusing on is lack, guess what? Enough of that and enough people doing that together, simultaneously putting that much energy and focus and vibration on lack out there, they're all going to plug into a situation where suddenly there's no toilet paper on the shelves, where suddenly there's none of this, where suddenly the shelves are emptying out, and people are making a run on supermarkets and stores like we're going to run out of supplies anytime, right? Again, you can take any fear, any limiting belief that you have and plug it into this perfect situation. So what's really going on? Well, we are becoming more and more of a collective, guys. Globalization, the fact that the world has gotten smaller, we can travel anywhere we want really in just a matter of hours, however many hours. I mean, we can connect with each other through the internet, instantaneously communicate with people all across the globe instantaneously, what we've never really been able to do before about 20, 30 years ago on this planet. And it's only ramping up, right? This connection that we have. And we are, with each passing year, becoming more and more aware of that connection, more and more conscious of that connection, that what happens somewhere in China is going to affect us over here someday, or soon enough, or that we aren't living in these isolated bubbles around the globe, these countries and these counties and these cities and these towns. We're connected. We're connected as a consciousness, you see. The more we've come into that awareness, the more global events affect us as a collective as well. because we're no longer able to just sit and think of only our tiny little communities and think in these xenophobic ways that you and me, it's us and them, and me versus you, and all this kind of nonsense that we've done for too long on this planet. So we have to catch up with that new consciousness, that new awareness, you see what I'm saying? It's inevitable that we will. We can't live the way we've been living for the last 2,000 years or whatever it's been, all right? It's time now for a shift. So the shift is happening, all right? But first we have to deal with where our resistance is. Individually and as a collective, we have to deal with that. And so here's another little clue for us all on where we need to shift our focus, our thinking, our vibrational output, where we need to focus away from, where we have our resistance and how to focus away from that, focusing towards what we prefer, unity consciousness, as opposed to separation consciousness. And that's not just in a hippy-dippy kind of peace-loving Gandhi kind of way, which is awesome. I have nothing against that whatsoever. But thinking beyond that, in terms of unity consciousness, what does that really mean? Well, it means that you and I are connected. It means that me and the guy over there in Mongolia is connected. It means that me and my car are connected. Me and that tree outside are connected. Me and that pebble on the ground are connected. Me and that squirrel are connected. I'm connected to everything in the universe. We're connected to the moon. We're connected to Jupiter. We're connected to that star that we don't know where it is, but we can see it. We're connected to concepts and ideas. We're all connected. We're all coming from the same energy. This idea of us being separate is an ego-based idea, you see, but it's okay. We come into this environment to have this kind of contrast, to have this kind of polarity, because back in the non-physical realm, we don't really have that kind of polarity. We can create very effectively and learn how to create very effectively against the backdrop of this contrast, of this polarity that we come into this realm to experience, you see. You and me, that idea of you and me. Whereas on the other side, back there, non-physical, there's no you and me. There's just us, me, I. There's just that unity, that source, you see. But we're moving more and more into that source consciousness. We're moving more and more into that unity consciousness. So it's kind of like maybe a lot of us, and all of us right now, are being dragged there kind of kicking and screaming a little bit. But really, that's not what it is. What it really is, ultimately, is that this is the next step on our path forward. This is the next step on our path forward. That's all it is. It's just showing us where we are in relation to where we want to be, in relation to where we're headed, you see. So that we can have the opportunity to kind of hammer out that resistance that we have in all these different areas of life, and also that collective resistance we have, right? That collective resistance we have to seeing ourselves as being united, being one species on this planet, and seeing not just ourselves that way, but ourselves in relation to nature, to animals on this planet, that we are connected to them and to it also. The way we've been doing things isn't going to work any longer, all right? Because if we are moving into that consciousness and that awareness, so we have to then, along the path, kind of take care of all the little points of resistance that we have along the way. We got to hammer them out a little bit, and we got to move beyond them. But in order to do that, we have to become aware of them first, you see. So again, this is not a punishment situation, and this isn't even a situation of you've done anything wrong, and that's why you're not good at manifesting. That's why you ended up in this timeline. You actually are good at it. You're so good at it that you ended up in this timeline. Because now you're able to say, as a deliberate creator, I see what I've been creating. I see the direction I've been moving in. I see where I have limiting beliefs. I see where I have a lot of resistance going on. Now that I know that, right? Now that I know that I'm here on the map and that over there is where I want to go, now I understand the direction I need to move in, right? I move away from here and I move over there. I begin to move over there. And remember, where you are is always on the way to where you want to be. So don't ever lament where you are. Celebrate it. And, you know, I know there's a lot of stress going on and you're observing a lot of contrast out there right now. There's no need for anyone to read the international news and all that stuff, really. Every now and then you can check in on it. I check the local news just to make sure that I'm getting all the proclamations and whatever the hell is coming down from the governor and from the mayor and from that stuff. But you know, that's about the extent of it. You know, I look at a few of those headlines and then I go right back to doing some other things, getting into my work here, or listening to music, uplifting music, having a beer, you know, journaling, scripting, how I want things to turn out, where I want to go next in my life, right? Getting back in touch with myself, doing the inner work, meditating, right? Calming down, being centered, focusing on what it is I want, right? So, you know, I've also focused on a lot of lack in my life, and I still have a lot of that stuff going on. I've hammered a lot of it out too over the years, but this is another thing that Abraham says. You can't get it wrong, and you'll never get it done, right? There's never going to be a day before you croak that's where you're like, now I've manifested everything I ever wanted, and that's it. I'm perfect now, right? That's not the idea of this thing. The idea of this thing is to always use the contrast to move yourself forward, to expand, to determine who have I become now as a result of living through this situation and collecting this set of experience. Who am I now? Right? At some point, this situation I'm living through now, or that belief system that I practiced for so long, at some point it served me. But now it's a limiting belief. Now it doesn't serve me any longer. And I can tell by what I'm manifesting, what's being physically reflected back to me, that situation no longer serves me. So that I can give myself permission to drop it, to drop my focus on it, and to determine out of that what it is I prefer, and then to place my focus solely on that, you see. So, I hope that I put that I communicated that in an effective way. But, you know, I saw that question. It's something that I could do a video that's like 8 hours long on this subject, to be honest with you, if we're really going to touch on every aspect of this. But hopefully this gives you an idea a little bit of when you have that question going through your mind, like, how did I manifest this? How did I end up here? Hopefully this gives you a little bit of an idea, a little bit of guidance in terms of how to really look at that question, right? And how to really begin to answer that question for yourself. You know, you can use the backdrop of this thing. You can use this program that's running now, this pandemic program, you know, to determine for yourself on a personal level, well, how is this affecting me most? What is this highlighting the most in my life, right? What area of my life is this most challenging for me? And having determined that, you can then determine where most of your resistance, most of your limiting beliefs lie, in which area of your life. And if it's a number of areas, then the number of areas where it lies. And then from that point, you're much more informed about yourself there. You have much more power now, much more awareness, because you know where you are. You know where you stand on the map, right? You have your coordinates, okay? And so you think of what's the best outcome for all those things, all those areas in your life. That's the next thing you think about. Out of the contrast, new desires are born. That's what we use the contrast for. That's what we use the challenging situations for. Use this opportunity now to sit down with yourself and to think about, what is it I really want? What are the best outcomes of this for me? What are the best outcomes in these areas of my life that this is highlighting the most for me? That this is shining a flashlight on right now, shining you know, what's that, stage light or the beam on, or whatever those things are called, right? Which area of my life is highlighting the most? Where do I have the most resistance right now? And so now that I've identified that, what's the best outcome for me that I prefer in those areas? And then what you do, once you determine that, then you move your attention and your focus in that direction, you see. Then you say, thank you, the contrast has now served me. It's now served me. I've now used it as a tool to determine where I am, to help me determine where I want to be, to know where I am now in relation to where that is, where I want to be. And now all I need to do is water and nurture and feed that vision of where I want to be, that vision of the perfect outcome to these situations and this situation for all of us. Okay? So let this be an empowering experience for you, all right? Not a limiting one. The idea of this is not to put more limitations on us, not from a universal perspective, okay? Not from a spiritual perspective. From a spiritual, the ego wants to hunker down and hide and be fearful and cower in the corner and mistrust people. But your inner being, your higher being, that larger part of you, of who you really are, that has the broader perspective, that has universal perspective, knows that this is an opportunity to reach for more than that, to open yourself up, not to shrink, not to make yourself smaller now, but to make yourself bigger, to be even more aware of your creative power. Okay? So thanks, guys, for letting me babble about that. I hope that's helped you. I hope that it helped at least scratch the surface of answering those questions for you. And I know everyone out there is wondering right now, what the hell, okay? So if you're hearing this, if you stumbled upon this video, if you're watching this video, then this is the answer you needed to hear right now, okay? So again, I wish all you guys the best out there. I love you. Okay, and videos are going to be more frequent soon. Okay, I'm getting on top of everything, while also not trying to go crazy myself. So I'm sort of balancing that out right now. Okay, dealing with coaching and making videos and that stuff, and then also tending to myself and nurturing myself, my inner being, my my inner state of being as well. Okay, guys, we're gonna all get through this. No matter what, it's going to be just fine. All right, don't worry about a thing. Just remember, focus on what you want. What is it you want? What's the best outcome for you? Put all your attention on that, and you'll see. You'll move into that swiftly enough. Okay, so thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video or any of my videos or the 𝗙𝗰𝗲𝗀𝗏, then please hit like, subscribe, comment, and share this video with anyone you might think would benefit from it. And consider leaving a donation if you want. There's links down there in the description box for leaving me a tip. And to all you guys who have been doing that, thank you so much. Thank you for being so generous, especially right now. Also, if you want some coaching, the link for that is down below as well. Okay, guys, so until next time, I'm Tarkan, and happy manifesting and happy just chilling. All right, just chill, just relax. What a great opportunity to save the world by just relaxing. Oh my God. All right, until next time, bye-bye.